Chương trình này được bảo trợ bởi
Family Joy, tổ ấm y tế của mọi gia đình, 714 898 0765.
Hi, welcome to the OC Health and Education Show on Little Saigon TV. I'm your host, Julie Yip. To us, OC stands for community because we believe that our community is stronger when we come together. We thank you for joining us each Tuesday evening on channel 56.10 and on Wednesday morning. As you know, this is a bilingual English and Vietnamese program dedicated to educating, empowering, and inspiring our community. And for March, which is Women's History Month, we have Leticia Clarke, the City Council member of Tustin here, to talk about her experiences in the community and how she will continue to inspire our girls, our youth, our future youth leaders in the community. Julie kính chào quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV trong chương trình Kiến Thức Y Khoa Gia Đình và Xã hội. Chương trình Kiến Thức Y Khoa Gia Đình và Xã hội là chương trình OC Health and Education. Chương trình đây là chương trình song ngữ. Julie hy vọng nói về thông tin rất là quan trọng cho quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV. Hôm nay Julie có thời gian nói chuyện với Leticia Clarke, đó là City Councilwoman of thành phố của Tustin. Hôm nay Julie hân hạnh mời được Leticia nói về thông tin về March, which is Women's History Month. Đó là tháng 3, là tháng cho phụ nữ. Leticia, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Julie. So great to be with you.
I'm so happy that we're finally able to get you on this show. I know originally I wanted you to come on to talk about Black History Month.
Right.
And now we're in March, and we're able to continue this conversation because Black History Month is not just 1 month. It's something that we continue to celebrate throughout our years and our diversity in our community. But I'm happy today that for March, that we're able to celebrate Women's History Month.
Well, I'm excited to, February is the shortest month of the year, so we always feel a little, a little regret at the end of the month in February that Black History Month was just, so short-lived. But I appreciate you recognizing that we can still have an opportunity to celebrate it, not only in February, but throughout the year.
Yes.
And March 1st definitely kicks off Women's History Month, so being that I'm a Black woman, this just is perfect timing. And so thank you for recognizing both of those opportunities to just celebrate our diversity and all of the things that we, have been able to accomplish right here in Orange County.
Well, thank you again for being here to talk about such important issues. Thưa quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV, tháng 3 là tháng của cho phụ nữ. Julie hôm nay có thời gian mời được Leticia Clarke nói về cái tháng đây. Tháng 2 giống như Leticia nói đó là tháng là rất là ngắn, không có thời gian mà celebrate Black History không, mà mình thấy đó là cộng đồng của mình với cái ở Hoa Kỳ là có nhiều thời gian celebrate diversity, là rất có nhiều người là Việt Nam, người da đen, Latino, Latina, đủ thứ hết trong cộng đồng. I know that America is such a melting pot, and it is a great opportunity for us to celebrate all our diversity. In your work, you have so many titles. I know as a mother, a wife, a community servant. Can you tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you've done in the community?
Sure. So, I'm a proud Orange County native, a proud Orange County resident. My grandparents came to Orange County when they were in their early 20s.
Wow.
They moved to Laguna Beach from Little Rock, Arkansas, and my grandfather was in the Marines, and somehow they landed in Laguna Beach.
Wow.
They lived on Ocean Avenue, and there was one block where there was someone who owned a set of houses, but that was the only block in Laguna Beach where Black families could live.
Really?
And so this was in the early 50s, and so they landed there. My dad was born in one of those homes. It was the first African American baby born at Hoag Hospital in Newport Beach. And so he grew up in that area and stayed and, went to school here and went to Santa Ana College and then Cal State Fullerton, and eventually met my mom, who moved here from New Orleans, Louisiana in her early 20s. So, I was raised here. I'm raising my kids here now. And it really I love riding down the streets and going to the different parks and, passing my elementary school. And I just love that my family has such a deep history here. And I'm able to continue on that legacy in raising my kids, but also just impacting the progression and moving forward here in Orange County, because I know how far we've come as a county, and just knowing some of the discrimination that my family has endured, but yet overcame that and was committed to staying in the county. And to be able to say now, here we are, I've served as a mayor of the city, I've been, on a city council in an area that people would maybe consider not a place where you could have a black leader in office. And so I'm always just proud to be from here and be able to contribute to this place and raise my family here. So that's a little bit about my background and my family. But I went away to school. I attended Tustin High School, went away to Xavier University of Louisiana in New Orleans, Louisiana, to study for college. And I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. So I was a pre-law major. And then I started getting some, kind of like internships and small jobs on campaigns to make a little extra money. And for the first time in my life, I saw black women running for office, running for judge and for mayor. And a light bulb kind of went off for me and thinking, oh, maybe I can do this too. I never really thought about it growing up in Orange County. So I changed my major after working on a couple campaigns to political science and public administration. And I was pretty committed to either running for office or, being a staffer or at least being involved in politics. And kind of veered away from studying law. But that changed my life, so to speak. So I got an internship right after I graduated with the city of New Orleans. And I started working for a council member, a black woman actually. And then shortly after, I was hired to be a legislative aide. And a year into that position, Hurricane Katrina struck the city. And I found myself on the front lines of responding to that disaster. And I was 22, 23 at the time. Lost my house, lost my car, all my belongings, and still had to work for the city and be a public servant because I was told, this is your job, you are essential personnel, and you need to, help us get back to, a point of normalcy. And so that was also probably the best lesson I've ever had in my career because it showed me that, the responsibility that a public servant has when you decide to take on that job, when you decide to run for office and be a leader of your community, it is your responsibility to help in good times and in bad times. And so that really resonated with me. And thankfully that was early enough in my career where I didn't have kids. I didn't have, anything that wasn't, worth losing, so to speak. So even though I lost a lot of material things, I was able to start back over, and start my life again. But that experience led me throughout the rest of my career to, one, be able to manage and get through tough times, and two, really step up when it counts, when the public needs you, be that leader that they need. And so I've kind of harken back to that time throughout my career.
Well, Letitia, you are so inspirational. You have shared so much about yourself, and I'm going to try to capture that
I know,
for the bilingual audience.
But
what I hear from you is that you are so resilient. You have a transition from being prideful of where you came from and the richness of your family's experience. Being like you mentioned, living in Orange County, being one of the few Black American, in Orange County, but also being able to continue this path and be an inspiration to so many youth of America, and having that representation, because representation does matter.
It does matter.
When you actually see that there is a Black woman that can be mayor. You're inspiring young women and us too, that we can be more in our community, and that there are pathways to get there. So thank you so much for your time and for sharing that story. Thưa quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV, hôm nay Julie có thời gian nói chuyện với Leticia Clarke. Leticia Clarke là một người City Council của thành phố Tustin. Đó là nói thêm là Leticia là một gia đình ở Orange County, ở lâu về gia đình của Leticia, làm rất nhiều việc trong cộng đồng. Leticia thấy đó một cái việc quan trọng trong tháng 3 đó là một tháng phụ nữ, là phải quan trọng là mình phải làm cái mẫu cho mấy trẻ em cho trong tương lai. Leticia nói đó là tại Leticia, gia đình của Leticia là Black American, là người Mỹ đen. Thời xưa 1950, ông nội hay ông ngoại gì của Leticia dọn tới Laguna Beach, mà rất là thấy có ít người da đen, mà chỉ một cái city, một phần nhỏ của cái Laguna Beach cho người da đen ở thôi. Thì chị có chia sẻ với mình đó là trong lịch sử của mỗi người da đen là có nhiều cái khó khăn, mà cũng có nhiều cái hy vọng. Là Letitia đi học ở Louisiana, học về cái cách trước nhất là học luật, mà chuyển qua political science là muốn giúp cho cộng đồng thêm. Julie hy vọng sau phần quảng cáo Julie sẽ nói thêm về cái công việc của Letitia với công việc Letitia trong cộng đồng Việt Nam. Julie cảm ơn quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV. Sau quảng cáo chúng tôi sẽ tiếp nói chuyện với City Councilwoman Leticia Clarke.
Chương trình này được bảo trợ bởi
Family Joy, tổ ấm y tế của mọi gia đình, 714 898 0765.
Hi, welcome back to the OC Health and Education Show on Little Saigon TV. I'm your host, Julie Yip. To continue our conversation with the City Councilwoman of the city of Tustin, that is Leticia Clarke, we're here to talk about so many things, Leticia. Before the commercial break, we had a great opportunity to learn about your family history and your connection with Orange County, but also your dedication to our community and how you've inspired so many young women and women leaders in our community. Can you tell me some of the things that you identify with? When I say, who is Leticia Clarke?
Yeah.
What would you say?
Well, being a mom is a huge part of, who I identify as. And I can tell you, when I ran for office the first time in 2016, I was really nervous about all the labels that we kind of, carry on. And for better or for worse, we carry these labels, and we like to, kind of fit into a box sometimes, but also sometimes we can feel judged by these labels. So, in running for office, I had to knock on doors and meet people. And I was concerned about being a Black woman, a younger woman, at the time. I'm turning 40 next week. And having 2 kids, I was divorced. And so I was, the single mom. And I was worried about all these labels and worried how people might judge that and maybe make assumptions that maybe I couldn't take on another role as a city council person and eventually a mayor, that maybe I had too much on my plate. But what I found was all of us have many hats that we wear. And what I was afraid to share about my personal life actually helped in running for office, because people could identify with those hats and they could say, I'm a parent as well. I've been through relationship challenges too. I have kids. But the one thing that really opened up the most doors for me was saying that I was a Tustin Tiller and that I went to Tustin High School. And so that hometown feel that we have in Tustin, it can be replicated in a lot of cities throughout Orange County. But what I found was people like belonging to something. They like having that community. And so mentioning that I went to that high school and that I had the best experience, people really resonated with that and kind of brought me in to say, okay, you are a true Tustinite, and so we want to know more about you and know how you want to represent the city. But with all those hats, I think, being a mom is probably the most important, because I make decisions based on what I would do for my kids, what I would do for my family. And I think about how it would impact them. And that's how I try to make the decisions that would impact other families in the city. So no decision is made lightly or as though my own family won't be affected. So I think I probably wear that hat. That's the biggest hat of my life. And because I carry it with me everywhere in my work and on the city council and just everything that I do in the community.
I love what you said, that, you, even though you wear so many hats, they're important because it helps the community connect with you and identify with you and feel that they know you. And, I know one of the things you didn't mention, I want to mention this, that you also transitioned to being an author. Can you tell me a little bit about that transition? Because, it's a book that really means a lot to me, because it tells our daughters and our young leaders and our future leaders. That there are people that has paved the way for us, and people like yourself, and that Mommy is the Mayor. That book is so amazing. What inspired you to move from all these hats and all these things to becoming an author?
So kind of what we talked about before, and me seeing those pamphlets of those Black women on the flyers, that has lived with me in saying representation matters, seeing those images in print or on TV or on things that we access, that's important. So I really, once I became mayor, I knew I wanted to have some kind of living document that would memorialize my time as mayor. So that was one part of it. And then just as I mentioned, probably being a mom is my biggest hat. So I knew I wanted it to be geared for my kids, with my kids involved. And doing that transition to this work that actually, resonated with so many other families. And so, like you said, it's not just for kids, it's for women too, to show that you can be a mom, you can have an executive role like being the mayor, and involve your family and educate them along the way and inspire them along the way, that you're not just working hard in vain, but you're working hard on their behalf to make them proud and to also create a better community around you that they're only going to benefit from. So there were kind of all those pieces, but it just materialized into a children's book. And writing it was fun. It's a rhyming book, so just thinking about all the important things I do every day that mean so much to me, being able to put that in words that kids can understand, so that they, one, gain more respect for their local government, all the sacrifices that people make on their behalf every day, and two, maybe inspiring them to get a little more involved because they see that something as simple as a stop sign or the new ice cream shop can be impacted by the leaders who make decisions on your behalf. And then three, just to show that if you thought you couldn't be a mayor or you couldn't be president or something like that, that you see these images and hopefully it's just much more attainable than maybe you ever thought.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us and for taking your job, when you were mayor, so seriously, and making a decision that was starting from your heart, your home, and how it impacts the community. Thưa quý vị khán giả, hôm nay Julie có thời gian nói chuyện với City Councilwoman Leticia Clarke của thành phố Tustin. Chị chia sẻ với Julie là chị Julie đặt một câu hỏi là tại lúc mà Julie hỏi là Leticia là ai, Leticia nói quan trọng nhất là tại tháng 3 đó là tháng cho phụ nữ. Cái công việc mà quan trọng nhất cho Leticia là làm người mẹ, là as a mother. Người mẹ đó là quan trọng nhất. Sau đó là người vợ với làm rất nhiều việc trong cộng đồng Việt Nam, trong cộng đồng của mình. Mà thêm nữa, Leticia nói đó là tại một người phụ nữ có rất nhiều cái công việc phải làm, mà đã là nói là wear so many hats, mà mình phải thấy đó là chừng nào mình có nhiều cái công việc đây. Lúc mà Leticia là run for office thì ứng cử đó là rất nhiều người trong thành phố Tustin là biết là Leticia là một cái teacher, là một người đi học ở trong thành phố đó, thì mình thấy đó là có một cái identity, mình có một người đại diện cho mình, một cái người giống như mình mới ủng hộ được. Leticia nói thêm nữa đó là tại sao Leticia làm việc trong cộng đồng của mình á, là tại muốn làm một cái mẫu cho con của Leticia. Leticia viết một cuốn sách đó là Mommy is the Mayor. Là tại Leticia chia sẻ với mình đó là một người mayor của thành phố đó là rất là quan trọng, mà mỗi cái decision Leticia nói đó là phải chú ý giúp cho con trước, là làm sao ảnh hưởng gia đình của Leticia, làm sao ảnh hưởng thành phố của mình với neighbor của mình. So Julie thấy đó hôm nay có thời gian nói chuyện với Leticia rất là quan trọng để cho mình hiểu biết thêm mọi người mà làm trong community service về chính trị là tại sao nó quan trọng. Leticia, I hope I was able to capture, the essence of what you've done in our community. Again, I appreciate you for being a great mother, being a great role model to the young children and us women leaders. What I want to also share is some photos that we did. I know when we had the book launch, you and Tammy Tran were able to gather together so many beautiful women leaders in Orange County.
Right.
And I was in awe to see women of so many, even political background and jobs and careers and fields and industry
Right.
coming together
Yeah.
and celebrating with you. And that was very moving.
Yeah.
I know you and I do so many things in the community,
Yeah.
but I don't ever remember another opportunity where we had so many powerhouse in this one beautiful cafe. And for me to see that, it was so empowering that you single-handedly, with some help with Tammy and your team, were able to bring so many women together. And it wasn't about competition.
Right.
It wasn't about who was whom. It was, we're here as sisters.
Right.
And we're here as a community. And I just want to thank you for creating that opportunity, because that truly moved me. And to see the children there, just being excited about the book, running around with the book.
Well, I'm getting chills just you talking about it, because I didn't know who was planning to attend the event. And like you said, different racial backgrounds, different political backgrounds, people from all over the county, beach cities, inland, the hills, we were all over. It was quite amazing. And what I realized is that just what we were talking about, there are some things in our lives that connect us all. For a lot of us, being a mom and being involved in either the community or political life was kind of where we found some common ground. And it's a struggle, you know, to balance both of them. So I think we all kind of came together in that evening.
Well, after the commercial break, we'll definitely have much more opportunity to talk about that day and your book.
Wonderful. Thank
Cảm ơn
you.
quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV. Sau vòng quảng cáo, chúng tôi sẽ tiếp tục nói chuyện với diễn viên của thành phố Tustin, Leticia Clarke.
Chương trình này được bảo trợ bởi
Family Joy, tổ ấm y tế của mọi gia đình, 714 898 0765.
Welcome back to the OC Health and Education Show on Little Saigon TV. I'm your host, Julie Yip. To continue the conversation today with the City Councilwoman of Tustin is Leticia Clarke. Leticia, just before the commercial break, I was just mentioning how inspiring it was for me to be amongst, you know, a room full of women leaders in Orange County. You and your team were able to bring the community together. And I just wanted to acknowledge that and recognize your contributions for truly, you know, working on what we see as OC, which is our community.
Right. Yeah. And that's the wonderful part about Orange County that I think sometimes gets missed in state or national coverage. We are a very diverse community, and you know, I think we know how to come together when it's important. And even though we may have differences politically or racially, or you know, some of our background history, we really we're proud to be from this area, and so we know how to come together when it's important.
And I know that one of the main reasons we wanted to come together was to launch this book.
Right.
So can you tell me about what it means to inspire young women to see that, you know, my mommy is the mayor, and you can also be a mayor if that's so chooses in your future path?
Sure. In my career, I've experienced leaders that either supported, you know, being a mom and being in a tough field, or didn't. And I found that my peers who were women in arenas that either required you to work a lot or required you to be maybe a little more tough or a little more aggressive, shied away from those fields because they thought that it couldn't change, and they didn't want to put themselves in that environment. And my argument always was, if we don't get into these environments that seem too intimidating to us, it will never change. And so that's kind of something about politics as well. You know, putting the mom and the mayor hat in the same bucket allows people to see that you can be a mom who's empathetic, who's kind, who's gentle with your approach. And maybe that's how you are with your kids. And you can do that in being a leader of a city as well. And if you're nervous about how divisive and how toxic politics can sometimes be, you can actually change that, that dynamic. So the things that you don't like about politics, you can change that by just getting more involved. And the more, I personally feel, the more women that are involved in politics, it really can change the way we just see politics, and it can be more community oriented. It can be more people centered, because I just think women innately kind of, hone in on those traits and, focus in on that. So I believe a lot of things can change with women leaders at the helm.
I just want to recognize that, you're not afraid to go into an uncomfortable situation, but also to let everyone know that, when we are leaders and when we get to those spaces, we're representing women, we're representing mothers, we're representing families that sometimes our elected don't understand our personal struggle.
Right.
So I think that's very important that women, that we empower each other to know that, if we're in, being a mom, we can also help change, the political landscape. Or for someone like me, going from healthcare professional and then into public service. Because like you and I mentioned in the break that, how important is it, especially during the pandemic, to have healthcare professionals in these policy making or in these important decision making. So thank you so much, Letitia, for highlighting those importance. Thưa quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV, Julie đặt một câu hỏi về với Letitia, đó là tại sao mình phải cần một người phụ nữ làm việc trong cộng đồng. Tại trước nhất là tháng 3 đó là tháng cho phụ nữ, thì tháng đây Julie muốn highlight một người nào mà làm rất nhiều việc trong cộng đồng để cho làm mấy bé gái với future leader ở trong cộng đồng của mình có một người mẫu để cho hướng dẫn mình. Letitia nói đó là chừng nào mình là người mẹ, không phải là mình không có được vô cái chính trị hay cái politics, mà tại mình phải nên vô, nhiều lúc cũng hơi khó khăn chút, mà tại mình thấy là nó không có đúng cho người phụ nữ, mà lý do mình phải vô để cho mình thay đổi cái công việc đó. Julie cũng nói thêm đó là Julie thấy đó là Letitia viết một cuốn sách là Mommy is the Mayor, mà lúc mà Letitia làm cái book launch là Letitia với chị Tammy Tran với rất nhiều bạn hợp tác nhau, mời rất nhiều women leaders trong cộng đồng Orange County của mình là trong quận Cam để cho tới tham dự. Một cái lý do đó là mỗi người phụ nữ đây là cũng có different political background, có Republican, có Democrat, có người trong healthcare, education, là làm rất trong công việc, mà điều ai cũng tới đó để cho ủng hộ Letitia. Mà mình thấy đó là quan trọng nhất, làm sao mình làm cộng đồng của mình hợp tác nhau hơn á, là để cho our community mạnh hơn á, là tại mình phải thấy có rất nhiều việc làm cho mình giống nhau, chứ không phải là chia sẻ mình. Letitia, I was just saying that, there's so many things that if we can get past our labels, that we can see the commonalities. Like I mentioned that during your book launch, you were able to see the commonalities amongst so many women that we may not see ourselves in one same room together, or maybe within the same page and ideas. But we were all there because we were inspired by you to continue to inspire our youth. So can you tell me what your daughter thinks about this book?
I think she loves the book, and I think, we've talked so much about how she inspired the book by just questions that she would ask about, what I do all day, or asking questions about new shops popping up in the city and not knowing, well, who was in charge of making that happen. And I had to let her know I had a hand in that. I had a hand in, making sure that new Chick-fil-A can be there or whatnot, But I think the message for my daughter, moreover, is that I can't promise her that she won't ever be uncomfortable in a situation. I can't promise her that she won't feel like she's the only one, either the only girl or the only Black person, or the only one who's just like her, and she'll feel uncomfortable. But I'm trying to get her to understand that if you can get more comfortable in being uncomfortable, you will go into so many doors that you never thought you were allowed to be in, or that you may stop yourself from going in.
I love what you said. Getting comfortable for being uncomfortable. And I think that's what a strong woman leader like yourself is that you're willing to pave that road for some of us and that are kind of reluctant to get there. There's so many times that when I sit in a room or a meeting or at an event, I'm the only Asian American woman in there. Or, more recently, I joined the Assistance League in Huntington Beach. And I looked around and everyone was white, mostly. And I was the only Asian American woman
Right.
in that room.
Right.
And I know that there's a lot of Vietnamese Americans who live in Huntington Beach.
Right.
And there are a lot of Vietnamese Americans that are able to get into politics. But, it really does take someone who's willing to be uncomfortable to making us more comfortable to be more willing to dream
Right.
and dream big, to
Right.
maybe become a mayor or even beyond those responsibilities.
And being transparent that it's not always easy. I think
Yes.
some folks think, I've reached a certain level of success, so it must be easy for her. And I let them know, I still get nervous when I make a speech. I still get nervous when I do certain things. So if you have those feelings, don't feel like somehow you are not cut out for this work. Those are natural feelings, but getting through it is what's
Yes.
going to make the difference between you and someone who doesn't achieve their dreams or go after their dreams. So just get through the uncomfort and you will find yourself in a lot of great opportunities that will suit you well.
As a therapist myself, I'm a speech therapist.
Yeah.
I counsel a lot of parents, and when they have separation anxiety, and parents would just sneak out of the house. And one of the things that kind of reminded me of what you said was, you just have to be honest with the kids.
Right.
Mommy's going to work.
Right.
I will be back. Everything is okay.
Right.
But I love your reassurance to your daughter that I can't make a guarantee that it won't be difficult.
Right.
That I can't guarantee that you won't go up to some uphill battles, but I guarantee you'll be okay.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thưa quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV, Julie thấy cái công việc của Leticia Clarke là rất là quan trọng, mà Julie thấy nếu quý vị muốn hiểu thêm về cái quyển sách muốn tham dự đó, cái quyển sách đó là Mommy is the Mayor. Leticia Clarke là một nghị viên của thành phố Tustin, mà Julie hy vọng quý vị thấy là tháng 3 là tháng của phụ nữ, mà một cái message, một cái quote mà Leticia nói hôm nay Julie thấy là rất là quan trọng á, là you have to be comfortable in uncomfortable situation.
Right.
So nhiều lúc á mình thấy đó là cái chương trình nào nó hơi khó khăn, hay mình thấy khó chịu chút, mình không có chịu làm, mà Leticia nói là mình phải ráng làm để cho mình được từ từ thấy comfortable, để cho mình thấy dễ chịu hơn chút. Sau vòng quảng cáo, chúng tôi sẽ còn một segment nói thêm với Leticia Clarke ở thành phố Tustin. Cảm ơn quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV.
Chương trình này được bảo trợ bởi
Family Joy, tổ ấm y tế của mọi gia đình, 714 898 0765.
Hi, welcome back to the OC Health and Education Show on Little Saigon TV. I'm your host, Julie Yip. Before the commercial break, we had a great opportunity to talk to the former mayor of the city of Tustin, but currently the city councilwoman, Leticia Clarke. I think that it's very important that we continue to celebrate Black History Month, because Black History Month is something that's something that we celebrate our diversity throughout the year. But in the month of March, we're now here to celebrate Women's History Month. Leticia has reminded me the importance of identifying as a mother, but I want to remind everyone that to me, March is Women's History Month. We celebrate the women that has paved the road for us, but more importantly, we need to continue to celebrate the women that impact us to this day. And I think one of the most important thing is to also celebrate ourselves. So Leticia, I think it's very important that you are a role model for me, to be able to, you said during the commercial break, to be unapologetic.
Right.
When you're taking care of yourself, when you're making decisions for your family.
Right.
And sometimes you cannot go to every event, because when you are the mayor, everybody wants you to be at everything, event.
Right.
But I know how hard that can be sometimes,
Yeah.
because people might not fully understand your priorities. Tell me, what does March, Women's History Month, means to you?
Really, it feels like a pause button to just celebrate the great work. I think as women, as moms, we're kind of in this grind mode all the time. Are my kids doing great? Is my family doing great? Am I achieving the things I want to achieve? March sometimes feels like we can hit pause and just celebrate the great work that I've done all year, that my friends and people in my life that I want to celebrate. It feels like an opportunity to celebrate them. And as you mentioned earlier, looking into the past of people who have paved the way,
Yes.
but also seeing people all around us who are doing the work right now and hopefully paying it forward for our daughters and for generations to come, making it easier for them, putting a couple more cracks in that ceiling, opening up that door just a little bit wider for, generations to come. And so it feels like just an opportunity to say, we're going to just pause and celebrate and recognize small and big achievements of women all around us, and women who, we look up to as mentors and role models.
Well, thank you. I think that's so important for everybody to remember that it's a pause button.
Right.
And, when you do pause, you get to see what's beautiful around you.
Right.
And to kind of celebrate that present moment. So thank you for reminding us all to take a little break.
Sure.
Thưa quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV, Julie đọc một câu hỏi là tháng 3 là tháng phụ nữ, là có ý nghĩa gì cho Leticia Clarke? Leticia nói đó là tháng 3 là một tháng là nhắc nhở quý vị là ngừng một chút, đó là pause. Ngừng, tại sao mình ngừng á, là tại tháng 3 nhắc cho mình thấy đó là có rất nhiều người phụ nữ làm cái role model trong lịch sử của mình, mà hiện tại cũng có rất nhiều người phụ nữ hướng dẫn mình. So với Julie, là người mẹ của Julie mà mất rồi đó, là vẫn hướng dẫn Julie. Cũng có Dr. Sharani là một cái mentor của Julie lúc mà Julie học trong University của Loma Linda, mà lúc đó Julie rất có nhiều cái khó khăn, mà Dr. Sharani là cũng có một người hướng dẫn của Dr. Sharani, đó là Mother Teresa. So Julie thấy đó là Julie có rất nhiều người phụ nữ hướng dẫn cho Julie, mà lúc mà Julie có cái nhiều khó khăn về sức khỏe tâm thần, sức khỏe đó là Julie có psycho chân không. So Julie thấy đó là mỗi người mà mình ngừng một chút, mình thấy là có người nào làm cho tương lai của mình rất là tốt đẹp, với là mình có cái thành công ngày hôm nay. Leticia, I just share with the audience that, to me, when I paused, and today, I message a few people.
Right.
And because to me, March is a time that I celebrate people who helped me through some of my major hurdles in life.
Sure.
When my mom, even though she's not here with us physically, she continues to inspire me and to guide me.
Yeah.
And Dr. Sharani was actually someone who helped me when I was in Loma Linda. When my autism was more severe, my learning disability was more severe, and I didn't have as much aspirations or even I guess positive things to say about myself.
Right.
And she inspired me to do so much more. I used to be a secretary for her.
Okay.
And I would pick up the phone. But because of my dyslexia, I would write down the wrong name, the wrong phone number, and oftentimes the wrong message. And rather than getting fired, I got promoted.
Wow.
And that's one thing I would tell you, that the reason why Dr. Sharani inspired me so much, because she said, that job is not fit for you.
Right.
You can't do the simple job, but you can do the hard job.
Yes.
So I became her personal assistant.
Wow.
And, as I became her personal assistant, I got to learn so much more about her mentor,
Right.
which was Mother Teresa.
Okay.
And so Dr. Sharani is from Sri Lanka, and I wanted to take this time to also, thank her for being such a role model to me.
I love that.
And, I want to also share that, during my mental health struggle, I also got to, learn more about faith.
Right.
So I went to a Seventh-day Christian school, and I grew up in a Buddhist household. I was such a rebel. But when I met Sister Chan Kong, she taught me mindfulness, which is the pause, and which is the present moment, and the celebration, and the point of gratitude.
Yeah.
So that kind of goes in full circle with what you
does.
just said to me.
Yeah.
So I just want to thank you for reminding me that, I've always been blessed.
Yes.
And that we need people like you to remind us that we are blessed and continue to bless each other.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that with me.
So I want to ask you, who is your inspiration that you want to highlight for March Women History Month?
There's so many women in my life that, and I have, like these big role models like Shirley Chisholm. I looked at her picture the last time I was in the halls of Congress and just kind of, stared at it for a while. And there's big people like that, but really it's people like my mother, my grandmother. When I think about my grandmother, who's my dad's mom, some of the barriers that she's had to overcome throughout Jim Crow, through segregation, and she'll be 90 this August. Just and how she talks about it as though it wasn't a big deal. It's just what we had to do. It's just what I had to overcome. She became a multi-property owner at some point, was a landlord, had her own business, and worked for Ford Aerospace. So she is such an inspiration to me, and mainly it's the humbleness of it that just to her, it's just what you had to do. And so if I come from women that did great things and they just seemed like normal things, then I know that I can go even beyond that. So I think that inspires me to just keep going and not to feel like some of the accolades or anything to be, to take too much pride in, but to do it and to move on. And because this is just what is done in our family, I think that always inspires me a lot. But people that are close to me, the women in my family probably inspire me the most. And hopefully I'll take my own advice and pause and celebrate them and send them a text or call them this month to say just that.
Well, Letitia, I really appreciate you for sharing your story and for being here, because I think it's so important that, instead of just me and you saying hi and bye periodically in a social event, we got to sit down to learn more about each other and how we became who we are today. So I think you were able to remind us that we build on the hardship of our family.
Sure.
And showing that strength and that resilience to continue. But I hear the humbleness in your voice, that there's so many of your accomplishments. You're so grounded, you're so humble, and you're always so kind. Thank you for always being kind to me when I see you at events. But I really think this is a great pleasure to sit down with you.
Well, I got to learn so much about you as well and respect all that you're doing and how you're serving the community, even in this TV show, just spreading awareness and having an opportunity to celebrate when you can. So thank you for letting me join you today.
Well, thank you so much, Letitia. Thưa quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV, hôm nay Julie có thời gian nói chuyện với former mayor của thành phố Tustin, hiện tại đã là nghị viên của thành phố Tustin, Leticia Clarke. Julie hỏi đó là cái người nào mà inspire Leticia. Leticia nói đó là người mẹ của Leticia luôn luôn inspire Leticia để cho làm rất nhiều việc, được thành công với làm rất nhiều việc quan trọng trong cộng đồng. Mà quan trọng nhất là Leticia muốn cảm ơn bà ngoại hay bà nội của Leticia, là grandma của Leticia, là trong cái khó khăn trong cái lịch sử của người da đen, là cũng là về slavery, về có cái khó khăn đó. Bà ngoại hay bà nội đó là làm một cái người mẫu rất là quan trọng để cho cô có cái sức mạnh hôm nay với có cái thành công giống ngày hôm nay. Julie cũng cảm ơn quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV đã luôn luôn ủng hộ chương trình Kiến Thức Y Khoa Gia Đình và Xã hội. Julie cũng nhắc nhở quý vị tháng 3 là một tháng cho phụ nữ, nhắc nhở quý vị đã ngưng một chút. Mình phải cảm ơn cái phụ nữ nào mà có làm cho mình thành công hôm nay, mới làm cho mình có làm rất nhiều việc trong cộng đồng Việt Nam của mình. Julie cảm ơn quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV đã luôn luôn ủng hộ chương trình Kiến Thức Y Khoa Gia Đình và Xã hội, và Julie chúc quý vị rất nhiều sức khỏe và may mắn hẹn gặp lại tuần tới.